This show sucks.
Welcome everyone back to Curiosities, and today I'm going to be taking on a completely different kind of theme, and it revolves around whether or not shows today are as good as shows from a while ago, maybe a few years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, etc. And I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to be looking at this article by Essentially Pop. I'm going to give my own little take on that, and hopefully we'll be able to come to some kind of consensus of whether or not shows today suck or not, essentially. All right, so before I get into that, though, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Hopefully, if you're watching this on X, you'll consider following us. If you're watching on YouTube, consider subscribing to us. And also, if you would like to support the show, come on and join us on Patreon. There'll be some new and exclusive shows that we're going to be putting together, including some episodes that I'm dubbing the Lost Episodes of The Rise of King of Silas that will only be available on Patreon. So, if you can spare a buck for an old altar boy. All right, so let's get into this article. It's on Essentially Pop. The headline reads, let me scroll down here, are old TV series better than the new ones? Now, this conversation is an ongoing conversation. I'm in the camp where older shows are definitely better shows. Before I get into what the article reads, I believe that older shows are just better made. I think there were better writers and better actors that were involved. I think, in my opinion, part of the reasons that we've kind of gravitated towards watching older shows. Let's get into this article. It says old versus new TV shows. Whether or not older TV is better than what's on offer at the moment has been a raging debate for nearly as long as TV has been around. While there's no set answer, there's plenty of arguments for each side. Now, this article was published back in 2022. So this is before the Velma series and all the Disney Plus debacles and atrocities that have been coming out just in the last year. Whether you prefer TV shows inspired by Jersey Shore or instead prefer to watch dramas, we think this list will help you decide whether you favor older or newer TV shows. In this article, we'll look at why this might be seen as the answer, yada, yada, yada. So this show does outline, and when we get to that list, you'll understand. And I'm going to ask you guys, because I'm just curious to see if there are any shows currently that you're watching that could stand up and, face to face. Can we compare that to some of the older shows? And we're going to get into that here in a minute. But first, let's answer this question. Why do people prefer older TV shows? There are a few reasons people might prefer old TV shows to modern ones. One argument is that there's a sense of nostalgia that could come with watching something you used to love as a child or teenager. As well as that, many people believe that the quality of writing and acting was simply better in older TV series. Now, remember, back when I was growing up, and I think a lot of you out there watching could attest to this, there were fewer channels. I remember growing up and there was only a couple of TV channels. There was like CBS, ABC, NBC, etc. But there weren't like now where you can go on and basically it's like endless. There are so many options. Now, mind you, some of them overlap and they show some of the same TV programs, but by and large, I think there's this whole movement, and there has been for a while, of streaming services specifically that want to have their own shows that are exclusive. And so when you do that, you're going to, put it out there. Amazon's a good example of that. They had the Rings of Power and a couple other shows, Wheels of Time and a few others. I think there was one called Peripheral, and I started watching Peripheral and I thought it was decent for a minute, and then I fell asleep. And it just seemed like it was a good show to watch for me to fall asleep at if I was having trouble sleeping. Rings of Power is just an abomination because it just goes against the canon of the Lord of the Rings. But that's another story for another day. Let's go on. Let's continue with this article. Finally, some argue that old TV shows were less censored than modern ones, meaning they could be more risque and controversial. Yeah. In an age where free speech seems to be at the front of nearly every conversation, this more censored world often riles people up, and they may then prefer to watch old TV shows that were often more controversial. I believe this. This is true. I think there's too much, tippy toeing around when it comes to dialogue and shows, and I don't really get that, because honestly, I think the world is more racy now and more vulgar now, and I work in a public school. I can attest to this. Kids they just have a fouler mouth, and it seems like manners are out the door. There's no etiquette. But for all this, we got to be politically correct. We can't say these things. We got to keep it. We got to cover our ears. We're going to be offending people. For all of that nonsense, this world is an absolute dumpster fire, man. You just go anywhere. People are robbing stores and acting crazy and violence in the streets, and there's no accountability. Of course not, because they're stealing for bread and whatnot. What's the truth? The answer to this question is probably somewhere in the middle. While it's true that some old TV shows are better than others, it's also true that plenty of new ones are just as good, if not better. It really depends on what you're looking for and what you personally enjoy watching, as you may have a preference or certain artistic styles. I mean, I'd like to know what these shows are. Not since Game of Thrones, I think, have I been like, we got to go get this. I paid money. I paid a lot of money to watch it. So, yeah, I mean, not since then, I think, have I really felt like a need to want to watch a particular show. New TV shows are designed to cater for the younger portion of the population. As a result, they often much louder and involve many more moving parts. This appears to be more by younger viewers, and it's been said that they have briefer attention spans, and so the shorter sections and various characters' arcs are often well received. Then why doesn't that reflect in the ratings? So I don't know where this article is getting their data from, but certainly, I mean, on the grand scale of things, that's not equating to shows being renewed and everyone talking about what are these shows? I'd like to know which old TV series are best, and now we're going to get into that list. If you're looking for some great old TV series to watch, here are some few of our favorites, as well as why they're loved by so many. This list isn't exhaustive. There's no way it can be, but there are some fantastic shows listed that are still loved by millions today. And Mad Men is the first one that they mentioned. And if you've never watched that series, Mad Men, it's a show that takes place, I think, in the 60s or something. Madison Avenue, New York, when the advertising world was just as big as you can imagine. The Sopranos is a no-brainer. I think Sopranos and that's one series I don't think I ever finished. I started watching it, just never finished. But that doesn't take away from the fact seasons that I did watch were just mind-blowing, and it's just so well done. And some of the actors in there are fantastic, and it was just so well written. The Wire, which is a series that, believe it or not, even though I've been living in Baltimore now for 17 years, I've never actually watched. I've only seen an episode here and there. If there's one series I think I will get into when I have time to binge, I think I'm going to watch The Wire, because there's so much stuff written about it. It says this is another show that's often seen as one of the best ever made. Set in Baltimore, it follows various police officers and drug dealers as they fight against each other in a never-ending battle, etc., etc. So, yeah, I do plan on watching. If you've seen The Wire, please leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of it. And try not to give me any spoilers, because I haven't seen the series yet. Lost is one series I have not watched, nor do I intend to ever watch. It's just not appealing to me. People living on an island and that sort of thing just doesn't appeal to me. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one that I have never watched. I have no desire to watch it, but I can understand why people would want to watch it. It seems like a fun show. I mean, if you watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, what was it about that show that you liked? That's basically it that it mentions here. It doesn't really go into a lot of detail. It doesn't give you a lot of shows to pull from here. I'd like to know what are some of the better shows from before, because this is clearly just a couple of mentions here. Let me know what shows you like from back in the day, and it could be 5 years ago, it could be 50 years ago. just let me know what you think it was a great show, great series, why you think it was a great series. I'd like to, see if I've already seen that or not. And if not, I'd like to watch. Maybe it's just because a part of me just doesn't really like the new stuff that's coming out so much. I've given shows a chance, and, even some that I've actually started liking get canceled for all kinds of reasons. Are there any shows that are going on now that you think are worthy of mention? I'd like to know. And TV's one of those things that I wish I had more time to watch. But believe me, when I do have time to watch it, I would like to not waste my time. So if you can give me some advice on what to look at or what to watch, I'd truly appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. And please hit that like button, share this video with others. Subscribe if you're watching on a platform for subscriptions. Until next time, thank you everyone for tuning in. God bless.
New Kingdom Radio Theatre.